Tableau software is a comprehensive suite of business intelligence products comprised of Tableau Desktop and Tableau Server. Tableau Desktop allows you to connect to any of the data sources you see here, and then drag and drop to visualize. Tableau Server allows you to publish and share the visualizations that you've created in Tableau Desktop. Today I'm going to be showing you the power of these two tools by playing the part of an analyst at a chain of retail stores. I need to look deeply at my company's sales, profit, and cost of goods sold figures. Let's begin in Tableau Desktop. Tableau Desktop allows you to connect to any of the data sources that you see here, as well as others through ODBC. You can also connect to Excel, Access, and CSVs. Unlike other business intelligence tools, there's no scripting or need to connect with IT to connect to a database. You simply enter the server name, enter your password information, make the connection, and select the table or tables that you want to connect to. In this case, I'm going to be connecting to an Excel file that has information about the sales at my company. As you can see, connecting to an Excel file is even easier than connecting to a database in Tableau. You simply select the workbook that you want to work with, select the worksheet or worksheets that you want to use, and then click OK. In this case, I know that the orders sheet contains the information about the sales and profit numbers that I'm going to need in my analysis, so I'm simply going to connect to that table. Tableau is now giving me the option to either connect live and directly to my Excel file or import all of the data. This option is given whenever you connect to a data source, and it allows you to choose between a performant database, if you have one, or bringing the data into Tableau if there's a lot of people that are using your database, or if it's not as performant as you'd like it to be. When the data is in Tableau's fast data engine, you'll experience improved performance. In this case, I'm going to connect live. Once I've connected, Tableau separates out my data into dimensions and measures. Dimensions are categorical fields like customer name, customer segment, region, and state. Measures are numerical fields like discount, profit, and sales. Typically with a measure, you're either aggregating or performing a calculation. In order to visualize my data, all I have to do is drag a field onto one of the shelves. Each of these shelves has a different purpose. For instance, the column shelf corresponds to the x-axis of your visualization, whereas the row shelf corresponds to the Y. As you might expect, the color shelf, label shelf, and size shelf correspond to the color of the visualization, the labels that are on the visualization, and the size of the visualization. The first analysis that I'm going to do today is look at my sales over time, as you see here. I want to understand if there's a cyclicality or seasonality in our sales, and what can be done to alleviate it. As you can see, sales have gone down from 2009 to 2011, but they're on the uptrend for 2012. A powerful feature of Tableau is the ability to work flexibly with dates. As you can see, I can specify many different options for how I'd like to see and utilize my dates. I can drill down to quarter, to month, to week, to day, as far as I want, and then, using the undo button, move backwards or forwards to whichever level of detail I prefer. Dates are a special field, so we treat them specially. We don't expect you to have to do a lot of work with your dates. We expect you to bring them in and then use them exactly as you expect to. Part of this date flexibility is the capability to switch between a continuous view of dates, like the one you see here, stretching from 2009 to 2013 across all of the months, to a discrete view of dates, like this, where I'm summing the entire dataset for January, the entire dataset for February, and so on. This view is particularly useful for the analysis that I'm trying to do here, where I'm trying to understand the cyclicality of my data. As you might expect from a retailer, the Q4 is extremely strong for this particular set of stores. May through July, however, are fairly weak. It'd be interesting to see if there's particular product categories behind this cyclicality. To view this dataset by product category, all I have to do is drag product category onto the color shelf. By bringing it onto color, Tableau understands that I'm trying to separate my view by the three categories that I have in my dataset. Now in my view, I can see for furniture, office supplies, and technology, these sales figures, and cyclicality. I can see that furniture has a pretty high cyclicality and may be contributing to the strong lull that we're having in May through August. Let's see if furniture's cyclicality holds true for all of the years in the dataset. When I highlight furniture, I can see that there are strong tail endings and upkicks at the end of the year through the fourth quarter. This analysis is useful and will help me to understand how I can stock my shelves in order to combat the cyclicality that you're seeing. However, I know that I want to change this view a little bit before I send it around to others to view. For instance, it's relatively hard to view these month names since they're arranged vertically. In fact, I'd like to just change them so that the very first letter of the month is what's displayed rather than the entire name. Luckily in Tableau, I have the flexibility to do that. And now, it's just the first letter that I'm being shown. It would also be useful to just see the numbers for this visualization. Although the view is helpful to understand the trends, sometimes people in my organization will ask me for simply just a crosstab view of the data. In Tableau, I can do that simply by right-clicking on the sheet and duplicating as a crosstab. I'm going to rename this sheet crosstab and rename the original Trends over time. Before I move on to another analysis, I'd like to change my metadata layer a little bit. In Tableau, I can change and update my metadata layer in any way I want, and it won't write back to the database. This is great because it allows me to change and view my data exactly as I want to, but I don't have to worry about harming any production systems. Here you can see I've got order ID in measures. Even though it is a numerical value, in fact, this is something that is categorical in nature, so I'm going to drag order ID up to dimensions. Again, this isn't writing back to the database, it's simply moving it and displaying it differently. In the same way, I'd also like to combine product name, product category, and product subcategory into a hierarchy. I'm going to name the hierarchy product. Some cubes contain this functionality, but in Tableau, we give it to you with any database that you connect to. As you can see, you can also drag and drop and reorder the hierarchy in any way that you want. I can also change the aliases of any of the individual items within my fields. For instance, I can rename technology to technology and peripherals. And now, that will be changed throughout my data whenever I use that particular field. Now that I better understand the cyclicality and seasonality of our sales, I'd like to bring out a map and see if I can understand if there are any unprofitable stores or regions of interest. Maps are a special kind of data, and so we treat them specially in Tableau. However, you can use them like you would use any other field in Tableau, simply by dragging and dropping. Tableau's built-in geocoding allows you to visualize data even if you haven't gone out and found the latitude and longitude for the individual points. We geocode everything down from the country level to the county level, area code, CBSA, city, state, and zip code. Another nice feature about Tableau's geocoding is the ability to do filled maps. When I drag out one measure, Tableau automatically turns it into a choropleth or filled map. This is possible at all area levels of geocoding, for instance, zip code, county, and state. Countries are also available as choropleth maps. When I bring out a secondary measure, like sales, Tableau will change the visualization so that it's circles instead of filled maps. This allows me to visualize two measures at once. It looks like overall, most states are doing quite well. I'm going to add a border to see if I can make these circles a little bit more clear. It looks like Montana has negative profit, but pretty much every other state is positive. I'm going to see if I can make this even more clear by changing my color scale a little bit. You can change your color scales in pretty much any way you can imagine with Tableau, and it's a nice functionality to be able to view your visualization exactly as you want. Seeing the profitability at the state level is helpful. However, I'm guessing that there's some unprofitable stores at a lower level of detail. I'm going to bring out zip code so I can find where they are and see what the problem is. Although the default view that Tableau has given me is quite good, I can change, modify, zoom, and edit this view however I please. For instance, if I zoom in on the Northeast, I can take a look at unprofitable stores and see what the problem is. For instance, I can see that in Maine and in New Jersey, there are a couple of stores that are exceedingly unprofitable. That'll be something that I'll be able to drill a little bit deeper into a little further in the analysis. For now, I'm going to zoom back out to the entire United States. In the same way that I can view and edit how the data looks on top of the map, I can also change the maps themselves. We have several different views on the underlying maps, and you can also add levels of detail, like country borders, county names, or even streets and highways. In summary, Tableau's maps are rich and full-featured. However, they don't require you to go find latitude and longitude or bring in shapefiles. I'm going to rename this visualization Profit by Zip Code and move on to another analysis. Now that I've looked at trends over time and profit by zip code, I'd like to understand my profitability by product category and subcategory. Oftentimes when you're creating a visualization, you'll understand the fields that you want to use, but you won't understand how you want to display them. Luckily, Tableau includes Show Me to help with this process. Essentially, it's a tool for selecting a visualization type based on the fields that you select. So, if I select product category and then use Control to select profit as well, Show Me selects different visualization types that will work well with that kind of data. I can select a pie chart, a bar chart, a crosstab, a highlight table, or any other visualization type that's displayed. In this case, I'm going to choose a bar because that makes the most sense with the data that I'm using. Even though I used Show Me to create this visualization, I'm not bound by what Show Me has given me. I can still drag and drop and change the visualization in any way that I'd like. I'd also like to view this by region and see if there's a profitability pattern in any of my regions. As you can see, it looks like furniture in the East is a particular profit problem. However, I'm not sure if it's all furniture or if there's a product subcategory that's leading the way in the unprofitability problem. Since I've added product category and product subcategory to a hierarchy, I can click this plus button and expand the view. Now it's much more clear that tables are creating the problem in the East. To make this view a little bit easier to view vertically, I'm going to drag region onto rows. I can also make this view a little bit more compact by hiding the header for product category. This will display easier in a tight space. All of these data discovery tools, from Show Me to hierarchical fields, allow you to tease out the problem points in your data. I'm going to rename this Profit by Category and move on to my next viz. I'd like to look at our cost of goods sold. However, if you look under Measures, you can see that cost of goods sold is not available for me to use. Luckily, Tableau makes it very easy to connect to a secondary data source and combine it with my first. In this case, I'm going to connect to my cost of goods sold data that's in a CSV. Tableau gives me the same connection options and direct connect or in-memory data options. And when I bring the data in, you can see it right alongside my original data set. The first thing that I'd like to look at is profit by product category. Now, when I go over to my cost of goods sold data, you'll see that there's a linking icon next to product category. This indicates that Tableau recognizes that product category are similar fields in both of my databases, and I can join on them. When I bring out cost of goods sold, I'll be able to see that data for all of my different product categories. I'm going to turn this into a single scatter chart and then drill down. This view is interesting, but actually I'd like to switch my axes so I can see if the cost of goods sold has an effect on profit. It's hard to tell from these disparate figures, so I'm going to add a trend line. It looks like, overall, there's a slight downward trend as cost of goods sold rises. I'm guessing, as with the rest of the information in my dataset, this varies greatly by region, so I'm going to bring region out onto color. Clearly, in the eastern region, the higher the cost of goods sold, the lower the profit. In the central and south, however, the relationship is the opposite. Without having to do any programming or scripting, I've brought in a secondary data source and added in a very valuable layer of analysis to my visualization. I'm going to rename this visualization Cost of Goods Sold, and then move on to a dashboard. A dashboard in Tableau is a way to bring in all of the different sheets that you create and then make them work together in a single analytical view. I can simply drag and drop or double click to bring any of my sheets out onto my visualization. When I drag a sheet, Tableau shows me exactly where it's going to land, and when I release, I see the visualization exactly where I'd expect it to be. Now, since my data is on an annual schedule, I'd actually like to add a tool that allows me to select and sort through the years. In Tableau, we allow you to enable this kind of interactivity through a small widget called a quick filter. When I enable a quick filter, I can select multiple different types of interactivity, and then I can sort through the years from 2009 to 2010 or 2012. I can bring this interactivity out onto my dashboard as well. When I do bring the quick filter out, at first it'll only affect my map. However, I can make it affect the whole dashboard simply by enabling Make Global. Now my cost of goods sold and profit by category update so that they only show the selection that the quick filter has shown. Quick filters are powerful because they mean that you're not limited in the analysis that you show people. Instead of creating 4 or 6 or 8 reports depending on how many views you need to construct, simply allow the quick filters that allow people to drill down to the data that interests them. Quick filters aren't only available for categorical data. I can also enable them for measures, like profit or sales. Sometimes, however, you don't want to include a widget on a dashboard to enable interactivity. You may want people to select in a particular sheet and have other sheets update based on that selection. I can enable this in Tableau by selecting Use as Filter. Now, whenever I select a particular part of the sheet, it will update the entire dashboard to reflect that. Before, we were looking at a couple of stores in the Northeast that were having problems with profitability. Now, we can drill into the profit by category view and see those places that might be affecting that. Again, it looks like tables are the problem. Creating a dashboard isn't only about the interactivity, however. It's also about how you present the interactivity and enable it for use. A common presentation tool is, of course, to use a title. I'm going to rename this dashboard Profitability by Store, and then double-click on Title to enable a title. In Tableau, all of the features that you see are editable, changeable, and formattable. If I want to change the background on something, or the title, or the borders, I simply right-click and click Format. The same is true for my quick filter titles. For instance, I can say Select Year of Order Date to make it a little bit more directional. I'd also like to reorder this quick filter to the top of my visualization so it's a little bit more prominent and easier to use. When you create a dashboard in Tableau, you create an interactive analytical application that allows many people to view the information that's important to them. No longer will you have to worry about providing 18 different reports for 18 different people. Simply provide the data and provide the interactivity. Now that I've created an interactive application, I'd like to publish it and share with other people in my organization. As I was explaining before, Tableau Server can be installed on any Windows network server, so your team can manage it and secure it. In fact, Tableau Server will support your existing security and data architecture. You can even cluster it to scale up to many users or big data. I'm going to name my workbook Profitability. Furthermore, you can leverage existing users and groups within your Windows authority and specify extremely specifically the things that they'll be able to do with each visualization that's published. In this case, I'm going to select my dashboard to publish and send it up to Tableau Server. Once I've published, Tableau Desktop will give me a preview of the view on Tableau Server. This is interactive, just like it would be on Tableau Desktop. I can now share this visualization with anybody who has a web browser. There's no special equipment that's needed. Other people can also view the visualization by logging in to the Tableau Server itself. When they do, they'll be able to see all of the visualizations that have been published. I'm going to view all the visualizations that have been published today and take a look at our Profitability by Store view. As you can see, all of the interactivity and tooltips and highlighting and formatting that I enabled in Tableau Desktop is visible and usable on Tableau Server. So when I create a visualization in Tableau Desktop, I don't ever have to worry about it being different or not acting as I intended it to in Tableau Server. Additionally, since everyone has to log in to view a visualization, I know it's secure and I don't have to worry about my company's data. Another nice feature of Tableau Server is the ability to filter down to a particular subset or view within the visualization, and then have Tableau Server remember your changes. When you have Server remember your changes, whenever you return to the view, you'll see the exact same view that you filtered down to. This goes back to the idea of making sure that everybody can have the exact view that they want, but use the same visualization as everyone else. If you're using a database with your Tableau visualizations, a nice feature is the ability to refresh that live connection in Tableau Server. This way, whenever your database updates, you know that you can refresh the live view on Tableau Server and view the most recent data. If you ever do need to change the view, you can simply republish over it using the same name. Another exciting new feature of Tableau Server is Tableau Mobile. You've always been able to view visualizations and log into your server through any web browser. Now the process is even easier and more conducive to analysis with our native iPad application. You can view all of your visualizations and perform all of the analyses that you'd expect to. Let's look at the visualization that we just published. As you can see, I can filter, zoom, and even select. All of the interactivity that was in desktop is native and beautiful in the iPad. In summary, Tableau Desktop and Tableau Server are the complete business intelligence solution. They allow you to connect to the data that you already have in any common database, perform data discovery and analysis tasks, and then publish those findings to Tableau Server, where you can share with any member of your organization.